I am here. I am back at it. Welcome, warriors. I just walked in, and yes, I'm wearing my poncho because it is a crisp 43 degrees here in the Big Apple. Welcome, everybody. Please make sure I have to ask you, you have to subscribe to the channel. We need to build algorithms, numbers. Community creates change is our hashtag, and we are doing just that. I have so many things to share with you tonight. I just can't wait. But first, I want to thank everybody who has donated, volunteered, sending in their uh, contributions and donations for our giveaways. We have to thank you because it's just incredible, your generosity. We are so grateful. We are helping many, many people here in the tri-state area. So before we start, let's see. I want to welcome everybody. I see Howie Brown kicking it off with 30. Howie, you are so generous. Thank you so much. 30 of the Lynn's Warriors memberships. Remember, everybody, you can join as a member. You will get videos first and also other content that I've yet to put on, but I'm gonna get to it, everybody, because I just got back from the West Coast in working some Warriors work. Lots happening. Hard to fit it all into 24 hours. I'm doing my best on about 20 hours a day, but I've got to pick it up. So Howie, thank you very much for that. Leslie's here. Good evening. Meg's here. Frederick Charles is here. Sean's here. Terry's here. Kristen's here. Kristen Tips, my first time live here. Well, Kristen, you never know what's going to happen here on the Warriors. A couple of things I want to go over. First of all, New York was so promising. I just got back yesterday from the West Coast, as I mentioned, doing work. You know, the Warriors, we work all over the country. And today, thrown right back into New York City, but I noticed something interesting. I'm not kidding, because I walked over 6 miles because I clock how much I walk. I did not notice all the illegals, the number of them for the first time. I'm not kidding, because normally at dinner time, 6, 7, 8 o'clock, you see all the bicycle delivery men, and you see a lot of the women out on the streets selling. They cook a lot of food and sell water bottles and candy bars. I saw very little of it, and that was during the afternoon too. And I'm thinking, gee, they're not out in the cold weather, or perhaps, I mean, because they were here last year, not in these numbers, but they were here. They're going elsewhere. They're hiding. They're doing something. And I do like Eric Adams saying he's going to work with Trump. Actually, he has no choice. It is the smartest thing he has said, I think, since he's become mayor of our great city, because that is the only direction and place he can go. So I want to also say that, Charles, first time here. That's it. That's it. This is the place to be, the Warriors. So I'm very, very completely thrilled that Tom Homan is going to be in charge of the border. I have done events with Tom Homan. He, along with the great other men, Derek Maltz, Jason Jones, these are men. And I'm going to throw in also, and I urge all of you, I did an interview with him last week, Frank Tarantino. He's the special agent in charge, DEA New York, the biggest division of the DEA. These men working on the border with Tom Homan in charge, unbelievable, because this man will not bend Tom Homan. He knows exactly what he's doing. He will clean this up, and I am thrilled that we will begin to shut down, in my opinion, what is the largest human trafficking operation in the entire world, and complicit U.S. government, along with the criminal cartels in Mexico. So I am thrilled that people are scared. People are beginning to, run for the hills, as I like to say. And we're going to end this under Tom Homan. We are going to end this. So I applaud President Trump and his decision. There's only one man who can do this, and he also empowers all of the border agents. They like him. They want to work under him. And after all, they were all threatening, a large majority of them. They didn't even care about the money. I've interviewed wives of theirs before, spoken to them. They said they were getting out of there if Kamala, it's hard for me to even say that. I feel like she's a long ago story, right? Even though it was just a week ago. If she was going to be president, they were going to quit in large numbers. There's Howie Browning. Howie, you're going berserk tonight. Thank you so much. 10 more Lynn's Warriors memberships. We are really, that is incredible. And that is exactly what we need, because we at the Warriors want to talk about things that nobody else really wants to talk about in this world of trafficking or survivors or intervening and preventing, with our kids, our grandkids. Howie, thank you so much for that. There's Court Oliver saying hello to everybody. And also, I just came from this meeting and I have to share it with you because it was so fantastic. It is part of what we do with the Warriors. There is a nonprofit organization here in New York called Sanctuary for Families. And what they do is provide every kind of service, what they call wraparound services to survivors, victims of human trafficking, and also domestic violence. You have to remember, they're not separate, in their own little silo, as people say. And this is something I'm stressing all the time. And I know people fight for money and fight over their nonprofit, and this one's better than that one. I'm not even going to bore you with that. I have always preached, and I'm going to preach it more. I'm going to go to Washington. I promise you, I'm going to get in there. I'm going to be preaching all these things. We're going to straighten all this out. We really are. Domestic violence and human trafficking intersect. Most of human trafficking victims are also victims of domestic violence and vice versa. We have to start looking at this as a whole. But Sanctuary for Families provides medical, psychological, emergency housing, things of that nature. So I did, with an art studio we collaborate with a little while ago, not too long ago, a wonderful art therapy session, because it's trauma. Everybody's having trauma, right? But in particular, a group of survivors came together. And again, these are things we do not put, pictures on Facebook. Our Warriors, our monies go to supporting survivors, programs, education, things like that, right? Survivors, it's private. They've been through a lot. I'm not going to be posting their faces all over the place. And I just have to say again, when people say to me, Lynn, you're not smiling a lot, when they see me on with Nancy Grace, which I'm on weekly, or some of the videos, it's because these are tough subjects, and I'm not going to sit around smiling when things are not nice, right? So, not to bring everybody down, because I've had people write to me say, you're bringing me down, therefore turn the channel. This is what we're talking about. Human trafficking, sexual exploitation, protecting our children. How can we get the government to step up? I mean, after all, they're paying for everything for these illegals. What about the Americans? Because we at the Warriors are providing diapers, personal products, coats, hats, gloves, toys for their children, food, right? Because our government is not giving them enough, next to nothing. But the illegals, so I can't be more, jumping around here a bit, everybody, more proud and happy to say Tom Homan's in charge. Things are going to change. But getting back to Sanctuary for Families, they threw there first. We did this trauma-informed art session. We had our disco music and food. Survivors can paint. And, they're very shy for about an hour, and then they start opening up and talking. And it was wonderful. I came back from that so empowered, and we're setting up some more of those sessions. And that gave our survivor leader that attended that day the idea. We were talking. A lot of these survivors, the problem is they have no way to make money, right? And that's something I want to work with our new administration, is so many grants and this and that are given to these different organizations, right? But I'm here to say very little of that trickles down to that survivor, that victim. We got to change that. The monies have to go where there is housing for these people. The monies have to go in job training. The monies have to go in getting them psychologically healthy. We're talking Americans, right? We're not talking illegals at all, because I am done. I was never part of that, but I am really done with that. Cannot provide for our Americans, but providing for these people who came here and broke into our country, this invasion we've had. But it's ending. I assure you this. So I go tonight, and giving the survivor leader who came to my art therapy group, she we were talking, got together and created, I was so proud of her, for the first time, a survivor-owned small business fair. And I have to tell you, to see these women there were a couple of men, mostly women, who are trying to make a dollar in different things they create. For instance, one she's doing facials. So she, as a survivor, and they use her to go on news networks, they use her to give speeches right and left. Yes, she probably gets paid a little something, but it's not enough, right? So she has this side business now with skincare, and I I didn't even know she was doing that. She said, yes, I wanted to get the degree and become an esthetician. And so she was there. There was another woman who created all of these adult coloring books and books to read to help people, right? These are things everybody can use. There was a yoga instructor, which I will be going up in Morningside Heights, which is, Upper Manhattan. And she gives the classes in Spanish and English. And she gets 25 people in a class, which is amazing. And started this with one student, she told me. She's a survivor. And now business is booming. These are the type of, there's Edie, made it, love to Mrs. L. We love you, Edie. Oh, Paula, you need to teach your kids when they're young, I think 7 or 8. And my grandfather was trying something with me, and I left and never seen him again. And when he died, I put it in God's hands. Paula, we digress here. We'll get to that in a minute. Thank you for sharing. Anna's here. Hello from Connecticut. Becky's here from Kansas City. Charles says ciao. I don't know if it means he came or he left, but whatever. To see these women really struggling, they want to make their own money, right? We need business partnerships. So if any of you out there have businesses and want to talk to me, if we can work something out. Also, it's holiday time, and I'm not shy about this at all. I mean, we have something called Giving Tuesday coming up on December 3rd. It's a global giving day. And then I see some of these organizations, oh, we took in 50,000. Oh, we took in 40,000. I'm thinking, who's sending them that money? Because it goes into overhead to pay salaries, and it goes into their offices and things like that. We need these monies. Think about it. Giving Tuesday, can't tell you what to do. The warriors are here. We use our monies wisely to go to the survivors, to go into the education in the schools, in the places of worship. I was even invited to a community center, and I asked the man today, what is your, clientele basically? And he said, elderly and mentally unstable. Now, I'm going to have to get back to him and figure this one out. I don't know what he means exactly by mentally unstable. I'll find out, because I'll go anywhere to talk about, here's what you have to look for. Here's what's going on. Here are free resources. Here's a place you can get help. There's a lot of help out there, but people just don't know. They're confused. They don't want to admit. They're embarrassed. Again, I'm still on cloud 9 from this Tom Homan with the border, because it's going to stop. It is going to stop big time. I'm still on cloud 9 about a lot of things in the last week, and still in a state of disbelief. And no, and you can feel the energy on the streets of New York. It's going to change. It's going to change, because me walking around and not seeing these throngs of illegals today, something's going on. Billy Rice says, Howie, thumbs up. Yeah, Howie's really the leader here with the Lynn's Warriors memberships. Thank you so much. Turtle Bean says, me too. The open borders have been horrific. They're going to close. They're going to stop. And there's no reason, listen, none of this is going to be magic. There's going to be a lot. I'm just going to say, we have to remain very positive, and we have to be vigilant every single day. Because a lot of, what's the word? Shenanigans maybe will be exploding upon us, right? And the Trump administration will be ready. That is what I am here to say. They will be ready this time. They will know how to deal with these things. They will nip them in the bud. The American people have spoken. Whoops, bless you. The few people who approached me about the election, I will just share with you. I have a standard answer, which is the American people have spoken. And that is the truth. And I and you don't owe anybody an explanation. But all I know is under the Trump administration, because I was there, human trafficking was addressed. Human trafficking was being funded with new groups, new ideas like never before. How can anybody fight that? How can anybody not want that, right? How could anybody discredit that? Because I really never heard President Trump get credit for anything with human trafficking. I really didn't. In any of these groups I'm associated with and part of, and they're supposed to be bipartisan and going to Albany or being in DC. I am here to share under the Biden administration, zero happened with human trafficking. Nothing happened, including their council, which is made up of human trafficking survivors. A lot of them quit at one point because the Biden administration just wouldn't work with them. There was nothing going on. And you have to have survivors to be part of this. I've never been trafficked. I've never been exploited. I feel very lucky because the stories are so horrific and there are so many of them and the stats are so high that I feel like I'm so lucky because I had a good childhood. I have a terrific husband. I'm very blessed. So it's my duty to give back and to really, I'm not accepting of any of this, and you shouldn't be accepting of any of this either. This exploitation upon our children, upon women, girls, not having resources for them. It's going to change under the Trump administration. And I don't care who fights me on it. I know what I'm talking about. They don't know what they're talking about. I expect to be in Washington. And that's all I'm going to say. Wendy is joining us. With vision, there is provision. Victory is at hand. Yes, you are correct. Lots of footwork needed on the ground. That's why everybody has to become a warrior. A loving, peaceful warrior in your own home and community. And that is all I ask of you. I beg of you. I urge you. Lori Lewis, thank you. Super sticker. Let me just put this up here for Lori. Lori Lewis, thank you. Yes, people have to be those boots on the ground. You have to just do it. All I'm asking in your own home. That's all I'm asking, right? If it's you and you need help, there's plenty of it. You can always write to me, Lynn at lynswarriors.org. There are groups. There are plenty of places to seek help, right? We cannot have people which normally go back into trafficking because there's nothing for them out there. They are worn down emotionally. They can't deal. They can't go out and get a job. They may have a police record because they've been arrested for trafficking, for prostitution, right? The justice system, that's a whole nother program. I had a meeting about that today as well, is so upside down. I was speaking with a lawyer who does a lot of pro bono work for sex trafficking victims, domestic violence victims. And she and I were talking about the judges. And she was basically saying, they just don't want to deal. And these pimps and traffickers seem to be just walking around, for the most part, scot-free, while they'll take, the girl, the woman, the boy, the man in the prostitution and throw them in jail, hoping, to get information out of them, perhaps about a pimp and a trafficker. We have to change that up because, as we know from studies, a lot of these prostituted people, I say that usually because we know there are different studies. Some say upwards of 97% of people in prostitution have been forced into it, which is a classic definition of trafficking: force, fraud, coercion. 97%, some say 91, 93, got a 97. Doesn't matter. It's high, right? Why are those people in jail? Why aren't we providing these strategies for them? And why aren't we erasing the sex buyer, the pimp, the trafficker? Yes, they do sometimes get arrested. Sex buyers get off pretty free. I'm sorry, they really do. If we ended demand or worked on ended demand in a bigger way, this is a supply and demand prostitution, and held them more accountable, you would see less of it. Because remember, the bottom line is about making a dollar. So when there's money to be made, you're going to see a lot of this exploitation. Paula says, I look out for every little kid that is out there by themselves and no adult around. Thank you, Paula. I there that's another thing we don't talk about. Um, uh, there are so many kids come from broken families or drug-addled parents or a single parent household, or a parent has 2 jobs. I know somebody who has 3 jobs. They can't even watch the kids. So how do we as a society, community, keep an eye out for other kids, right? Actually, there was a story today and I have to read it. I saw some headline: a mother somewhere here in the United States let her 10-year-old walk alone to a store or something about a mile, and they arrested the mother. Something about she put her child in danger. And by all accounts of what the quick little article I read, because I only read like the first paragraph, I have to get back to it. Um, like a good family, a nice family, and or 3/4 of a mile, and she was arrested. So this is the split we have. Like, how do we get to these kids? A lot of these victims of sex trafficking, these girls, there's nobody at home watching for them. They're on their own, right? Or they do it because they've told me, I want to buy my siblings, a hamburger. I do it because, I have to give my mother money, and the mothers are fine with it. How is a society, how do we get around that? Right? Yes, we have cases of, yes, human trafficking affects everybody, every color, every religion, good homes, bad homes. We know all that. But let's look at the reality. The reality here in New York State is it is over 60% of girls of color, right? Women of color. And it's like 64%. We have to look at that. That's what we know about. Could be 75%. So we have to look at the vulnerable community. How can we look out for everybody else? Well, we can't even look out for ourselves most of the time. So that's something, what we can do though? You can join me on the Warriors. We can talk about it. We can learn about resources. We can use the internet, leverage it for good, use our platforms to put studies, anything I post. I want you to go back. How about today on Twitter? Remember, everything's Lynn's Warriors. I've made it very easy for you. There are 2 missing children. And the first one is a very sad story. The little boy's 5 years old. He and his mom took a nap. It's in Oregon. His name is Joshua McCoy. And since Saturday, the mom woke up about 4 hours later. He's just gone, and he has autism. I bet you, and this is horrible for me to say, I don't even want to say it. A lot of these kids with autism, they walk into water, either pools or lakes. Water attracts them, and they drown. So this cute little boy, and please go on my Twitter and find it and share it. If you're on Twitter or X, whatever it's called X. I should call it the correct name, X. Please share it on your X, because we have to find this little boy. This is since Saturday. Sometime they went to sleep at 1 o'clock, the mother said, taking a nap together. She woke up at 5:30, I believe. He was gone. And the first 48 hours are always critical in finding missing children. So please share that. And then we also have this 14-year-old, this very nice boy from California, Jose Sanchez. He's just gone. Nice kid, hardworking, good family. He's out in California and gone. Where are the kids? Where are all the kids? This is why we need Tom Homan, because we have to remember, we have an average of 2,300 missing American children every day. Now, wait a minute. It includes sex trafficking, labor trafficking, familial cases where one parent may take from the other parent, kind of a kidnapping. We also have a lot of runaways. Why are they running away? It's such a unbearable home life for a lot of them, not all of them. They figure, and I've had conversations, they're better off on the streets. What happens on the streets? The predators are right. I see them in New York by the Port Authority bus terminal, leaning up against walls. I can pick them out. They're just waiting for kids to get off of buses, or a vulnerable woman, or even a man. But remember, the demand is for children. That's what they're targeting. And what happens when somebody's on the streets for 24 hours and they're cold now, the weather's cold, and they're hungry, and somebody's nice to you, and the brain is still, very naive. Remember, they're very patient, very patient, these pimps and traffickers and these horrible people. And they may not do anything to you for 48, 72 hours. But sooner or later, they'll throw you in the back of a car and they'll drive you somewhere, because a lot of what they do, these traffickers, is mix people up, drive them somewhere else, right? Because if the last known location, for instance, if somebody has a phone, well, usually these kids don't have parents really looking for them for the most part, and there's a location tracker, or they've used some kind of, I don't know, debit card maybe, or a lot of cameras take pictures these days in stores. They want to get them out of where they took them from, so they're taking them to other places. It is a problem, and we're not addressing the runaway problem enough. Don't get me started on foster care. It needs to be blown up, redone. That is a re-victimizing, re-trafficking organization. I'm going to talk about all this in Washington when I go. That has to be stopped. Every person I know who's come through foster care has told me, and some of them are my age now. They're like, no, they re-trafficked me. They assaulted me. Who thinks like this? What has America come to? But we're going to put an end to it. Let me just catch some of the comments. Yes, Wendy's pointing out the entertainment industry, yes, is just a hellhole. I realize that now, well, certainly in the last couple of decades, but starting in it years ago in the music business, I didn't realize then. For instance, I was never a pushover, so nobody really ever bothered me, right? But we know that people are so desperate to be performers or to be close to luxury and fame. And I have seen it over and over again. They lose their minds. They will do anything. They will sell their child. Look at the case of Dirty Diddy. We always suspect it. I heard so many things. I didn't see it for myself. You can't just go on, I heard, right? Things have to be proven in a court of law. This went on for decades. And I would say, I would not be surprised if minors were involved. And sure enough, that is going to break forth. This is a sex trafficking operation, and I believe of males. We're going to see about this. So let's see what's happening with that. I know he was denied he and that lawyer of his, oh, that's another one, going on TMZ and talking about all kinds of crazy stuff. His gag order, he wanted to gag these potential, alleged victims, and the judge denied that. He didn't want anybody speaking or anything. Crazy stuff. It's been a little quiet today about Dirty Diddy. We'll see where that goes, because a couple of new things I know this week will be breaking. I won't say anything more on that. Just have to wait and see what goes on with that. And we'll have a few very interesting interviews on this channel relating to the music industry, rap industry, the culture of it, starting next week. I'm going to leave it at that. And all of you, of course, will be watching those. Kristen says, drugs are part of it all. Some are drugged against their will or knowledge. A lot of them are drugged. If we're talking about, remember, there's a lag here. If we're talking about the victims, the trafficking victims, oh, yes. And some of them, a lot of them self-medicate because they can't take the pain psychologically and physically they are undergoing. You have to think about this human trafficking as, if you want to break it down to dollars, because people just understand money. This is something that is costing our healthcare system with all of this trafficking and everything. And it's a family show, so I don't want to go into details. Everything that goes along with it, visits to emergency rooms, whether it's beatings, whether it's infections, such a burden to our healthcare system that we need to be looking at that. There's a terrific study put out by Nurses United Against Human Trafficking. 2 nurses that we're partnered with that put this study out that our own government couldn't do. And it is, I'll put the website in the body of the video and all that. It is the burden on the healthcare system. They did their own survey, and they had answers from nurses, nursing students, yes, across the country, 48 states, pretty good. And the protocols, and you got to hear this one, the protocols for a human trafficking victim, right? Indicators. If somebody comes in, say it's a 15-year-old girl, what do you do with that person? Only 2% answered, and they did this anonymously, so that helps, of course. 2% had protocols in place, despite our government spending millions giving to, well, I don't know, places like Northwell, that's under the, they have an umbrella of many different hospitals now. Many places say, here's a video, please watch it, 15 minutes. This is for health, nurses. Check off the boxes. Do you understand? Boom. What do you actually do when somebody comes into your emergency room? Normally, with the trafficker there who says they're a brother, an uncle, a father, a friend, they won't leave that girl. I'm using as an example. What are the protocols? Lots of times, nurses will say, I have to bring her into the bathroom. Please wait here. There's no protocol. After that, the police have to be involved. All kinds of things have to happen. Yet despite all these millions being poured into human trafficking education, in healthcare system, nothing's happening. I'm here to say, if 2% are admitting, we know what to do. We have protocols. And this is in 48 states. What happens? They patch them up. Because what happens? We patch them up and we send them out again. And can you believe that? So here's this missed opportunity to arrest this horrible criminal, pimp trafficker, awful, crazy person, and rescue, really save a person. And we're not doing it. So I want accountability. And I'm going to be talking about this in Washington. And that reminds me, in New York City, there is a new group formed called Save Our City. And I will be going to their first meeting. It is run by our former police commissioner, Ray Kelly, and a couple of other people, empowering, getting rid of the crime. Everybody's invited, communities. How are we going to do this? I, of course, will be going. It is next week at some point, and talking about the sex trafficking, what we are doing about the sex trafficking, because the illegals who came here, despite paying lots of money, however they got here, this is the part I don't understand. We want them to come here, right? I don't mean you and me. We, collectively, Biden administration, and some other crazy people who put them first over Americans. And then we dump them in these hotels. And then the women are sex trafficked. Now, I talked about this a long time ago when nobody else would. Because, I have sources. People report things to me. Now, of course, it broke a little bit in the media. Maybe starting about a month ago. And these women who are supposed to be the mothers are in the family hotels, because we have one nearby. And I look at things, I hear things. In the middle of the night are coming out and having sex in cars lined up all along the street. And it's happening at multiple, Roosevelt Hotel is a big one on 45th Street down by Grand Central. And so if I know about it, the cartels are still forcing these women in particular. It's called forced servitude, debt bondage. They pay this money to get here, and they still have to keep paying the cartel, and the Biden administration allowed this. Unacceptable. Eric Adams knows it's been going on. He's allowing it. Granted, he's changing his tune now that, again, like I said before, he has no choice, cozying up to President Trump. But is this so unacceptable? So we have that going on, right, which is pushing the trafficking, Roosevelt Island, East New York, Penn Track, near schools, in Brooklyn, girls walking around in thongs, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. This is just unacceptable. And then we have our own kids. There is always, our statement has always been, a lot of people copy it now, but I guess that's a form of flattery, I guess. There is a war on for our children on every level, from education to medical, everywhere you turn, right? So we have to empower our kids. We have to be armed with the information. You have to know about all of this exploitation happening. You have to know about the internet. Don't give me that excuse. I didn't grow up with the internet. It's hard for me. Look, use the internet. There's plenty of YouTube tutorials how to do things. The best thing you can do, though, is talk to your child, talk to your teen. They want it. We do focus groups. They want us as adults to acknowledge them, to talk to them. Yeah, it may seem tough in the beginning, right? But they really want us to focus on them. Ask them, it's not accusatory. It's not even judging. It's just, over lunch. I say this all the time, or breakfast, they're driving in the car. So what games do you use? Remember, boys primarily are into the gaming, and that's where the predators are. Every platform, game, every single thing, I guarantee you, has predators on it. Because remember, wherever the kids are, so are the predators. So what are you to do? You are to know, especially the kids are young. You bought those devices, you pay for the internet. Take control. It's not their device. It's, family digital partnership. Let's get in there. Really, strangers, we're allowing strangers to talk to our kids, because what they're doing a lot is getting kids, off of Snapchat and YouTube and Instagram. Those are three top favorites. TikTok, to do these DMs, and that's where they're developing the relationships and getting the kids to go further, right? And we also have, which is why I want you to watch my discussion, my interview with Frank Tarantino from the DEA. They have come so far. They are partnering up with families of victims of this illicit fentanyl poisoning. Now, we have to keep talking about this, and my excitement again comes forward because of Tom Homan, who's going to shut this down. Why are we allowing China to poison us? It's an intentional poisoning of Americans. We're losing 300 Americans a day. It is the leading cause of death, 18 to 45-year-olds. Don't you think we should be talking about this? It's going to be shut down under President Trump and Tom Homan. This I know. So Frank Tarantino, the DEA now, as a matter of fact, this morning he was on his way to a National Family Summit in Washington, D.C. They're working directly with families to spread the word. Remember, all these groups are talking to each other. I've always said, we got to get it. And I said this to Frank. I said, Frank, we got to get it out into the public's hands. One pill kills. You have to know the tip of a pencil. That little tip of a pencil, not even the whole little black part of the pencil, little tip, that much fentanyl can kill you. We know the cartels are working in all 50 states because of the Biden administration open borders. They've worked their way right in here. They've partnered up with MS-13, especially here in New York and in Texas. And they are working hand in hand. They are recruiting our American children to sell their dirty, illicit drugs. Every pill pressed, 74.5% now contains fentanyl. Fentanyl. It is so cheap. So Frank was explaining to me at the border, they're now, it's chemicals that they have to confiscate, because the chemicals are coming forth, whether it's this ketamine. They've got what they're putting in these drugs now and pressing into pills and liquid form is the ketamine and the ecstasy and the molly and the fentanyl. And they call it pink cocaine, but there's basically no cocaine in it. It's pink food dye with this pot. Think of a pot on the stove, and you throw everything in it, you mix it up, you put it in some syringes, or you press it into pills. And kids are buying this stuff on the internet. Now, why isn't our government shutting this down? Some way, somehow, there's got to be some sort of checks and balances. Nobody cares about privacy. Nobody's breaking into your privacy about allowing this to happen. 2 clicks on Snapchat. Come on now. Let me check some comments. You can't. Let's see. Sean says you can't take it with you when you go, as a friend of mine said recently. That should be printed on the dollar. That would be good. I don't think it'll ever happen. War Cry is here and says, hi all. Hello, War Cry. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let's see what else we have here. Dragon Sage says, hi. Shay Watson. First time, I think. Good evening. I finally caught you live. Hello, Warriors and Lynn. Yes, you're all warriors for tuning in tonight. I welcome everybody. Edie, you reminded me of a good thing. Please hit the like button for Mrs. L. Yes, please do that. Kristen says, I've been bringing up child trafficking in every conversation in online. It's becoming a hot topic. It's becoming a hot topic, but can I tell you something? I take great, what would the word be? Offense. That people jump on things for clicks and likes and attention. This is a topic that cannot be fooled around with. I know plenty of people, they may have great numbers here on YouTube. They may be loud. You may like them. And you know what? They're not doing a damn thing. Unless you take action in some form, don't be involved with sex trafficking. We have to also remember labor trafficking too. We have a lot of kids, American kids, and these unaccompanied minors that are floating around. The 500,000. I'm here to say that. We hear 300,000. We know it's in excess, and I've been told 500,000, but everybody's saying 300,000. So we have a lot of these kids working, and our American kids, in dangerous jobs. That is labor trafficking, right? Of a minor. So we have to keep that in mind as well. And I take great offense to these people who jump on the bandwagon, and people are using the Warriors now, the name, and we're going to rescue kids, we're going to save kids, we're going to jump out of a helicopter, we're going to do this, I'm here to say, in my opinion, 90% of that is false. False, false, false. We want you to put out facts and truths, and that is why it is so important to follow us, to talk to us, to understand what's going on here. What can you do? You must do something, because it's almost 2025, right? We have a wonderful new administration, I believe, coming in that was dealing with this. And I'm going to keep telling you, and I was there. I saw it and heard it firsthand. There were great things in the works that, of course, on day one with the Biden administration, I'm going to say Biden-Harris. Those two should get equal everything. Just got rid of it, got rid of it, got rid of it, got rid of it. Who would get rid of it? Who would get rid of, opening borders and having children picked up, one man, a van, picking up 20 kids? And don't get me started on those NGOs that have been making millions upon millions upon millions, shrouded in secrecy. And that goes for everybody from Catholic charities, there's Jewish organizations, there's every kind of church organization you can imagine, and raking it in to help these illegals, to help them get to their next spot. You know what? It's a money-making operation. And like an NYPD officer told me, it's so simple, but it made so much sense to me. Lynn, if we solve problems, it doesn't make money. I said, oh, who wants to solve the business of sex trafficking when it makes loads of money? Let's finish up with some comments so I can let everybody go to sleep if it's nighttime where you are. I appreciate all of you for coming here, for supporting us, for being part of this. And yes, it is becoming a hot topic, but let's have some take actions. Let's talk to our kids open and honestly. Let's understand what's going on the internet. Why? It's lame duck session in Congress. Why aren't we voting Kids Online Safety Act, getting it over the hurdle? It has had unprecedented bipartisan 91-3. And now we just needed to go to a vote. And now is the perfect time. It can be done. I kept hearing we have to get through the election. We'll see where it falls. Now is the time. We still have time to pass this. Because if it doesn't pass this session, what you have to do with legislation is start all from the beginning again. We've been at the Kids Online Safety Act. We've made many changes to accommodate, right? For instance, we had things like all children, and certain people want it specifically, in addition to all children, LGBTQIA+. Okay, we put it in. When we say all children, we mean all children, no matter what you are. Okay, if that's what's going to get us over the hurdle, we put it in. We need to get this passed because we start from the beginning again. And then we've been at this for 3.5 years. And we have about 15 pieces of legislation for child safety on the internet to take it down, nude images, all kinds of stuff going on. So we know if we can get Kids Online Safety Act passed, we believe others will follow. So I'm very excited for what's to be in January with the new everything. I guess we're still waiting on the House for official confirmation, but that's looking good, as well as we've got the Senate, and these things should fly right through. We hope. But in the meantime, open and honest communication. I always tell you that. You've got to know about the internet. Take 5 minutes a day, just 5 minutes, right? Read some stuff. Follow the warriors. Understand what's going on. Don't believe everything people are saying on YouTube as far as kids and saving and this and that. Because I see on a daily basis a lot of misinformation. So be very careful when you share something. It's correct information. Um, but the fact that you're here tonight, all of you, I'm so appreciative. So I want to make sure I didn't miss anybody. Shay says it's so hard to prove things in family court. The court system is not in favor of families, is not in favor of sex trafficking victims. Uh, Law enforcement admits this to me. Lawyers admit this to me. Judges have said it to me. It has to be changed. But slowly we're chipping away. I'm here to say, let me give you some hope. I am so hopeful. The pendulum is swinging in our favor. We have a new administration coming in that wants to stop this predation. We have Tom Homan. I can't speak enough. And I have to throw out the names. We've interviewed all of them: Derek Maltz, Jason Jones, Frank Tarantino from the DEA. These are men working for you, for me, for our children. They are good Americans that want to stop all of this. Frank Tarantino wants to get this fentanyl out, out, get everybody away from it because it is so deadly. We are not going to accept this. And I leave you with, I don't know if you saw it today, this Laken Riley, this young woman, we have to pray for her. She should be alive. The nursing student in Georgia, this illegal piece of garbage, Jose Barra, whatever is, I think that's his name. He wants no jury. He's sitting there with his lawyers. I saw the lawyer take a cup and she put it up on her lips talking to him, I guess because we have lip readers now in courts or something like that. And he's sitting there in his nice little clean shirt and she's dead. And all she did was go out for a jog. And the description of what he did to her is I guess I'm supposed to say allegedly, but I'm not, but I guess I'm supposed to say that, is horrible. He wants no jury. He wants the judge to decide. And I hope that judge just kicks him out, locks him up, whatever they do, throw away the keys. We cannot have these criminals. Because, you're not hearing what I hear. So many criminal activities from illegals, especially this Chandiaragua. And remember, a lot of these people are just here trying to make a better life. Still, they have come here illegally, invaded our country when we're not giving to our Americans. So they have to go back and come here. We work with plenty of immigration attorneys. They have to come here legally through the process. And if that takes 7, 8, 9 years, so be it. Why are we the only country that's allowing all of this? It's going to stop, though. So in the meantime, remember, our kids are hearing all of this. They're seeing all these things online, probably. I don't know how many kids watch news today, but none of us should be watching most of that crap. Nothing. Scan the internet. Try to go for viable sources. Try to share information. Be very careful what you do share, especially with sex trafficking and kids. I know everybody likes the shock value, and certain words are used all the time to gain traction. And you know what, though? Remember, it's your child or your grandchild or your family member or somebody you know if you don't have children. We're all affected by all of this. Shay says, Shay, I'm sorry about this. I feel it. I was speaking to somebody also tonight about her 29-year-old daughter taken from her when she was a child because her husband had more means, more money, and the courts were more agreeable then to give to that kind of person than to, a person who didn't have a credit card. That's the bottom line. So I understand. We have to speak about these issues adult-like and appropriately and together, because remember, community creates change. I want to thank Lori Lewis. I want to thank Howie Brown for that incredible amount of Lynn's Warriors memberships. I want to remind all of you, I know you know, we're going into the giving season. We're doing another Warriors giveaway right before Thanksgiving. Going to be giving a lot of food. Thank you for all the donations. We've got Beautiful from one of our Warriors. I don't see her here tonight. Beautiful coats, ski jackets she's providing. And we've got hats and gloves and scarves and toys for kids. When I say toys for kids, we like educational toys, things like that. art supplies. I want all of you to make the commitment to become a warrior. The fact you're here, you're already a warrior. But you have to take action. And if that's one little thing every day, it's one little thing. Remember, this is not going away. This is only escalating all this human trafficking, right? The new administration will begin to make the dent and shut things down and take action. There's a lot of hope. The Alpha generation born in 2010, 2010 forward, so they're young, 14 or less, are rejecting a lot of devices and gaming. I mean, they're still doing it, of course, and all that, but it's lessening. We also have a movement with Protect Young Eyes is in charge of this, and I'm going to put their link in the website as well. They have a wonderful protectyoungeyes.com that schools now are working on this. So it's no phones in schools, still being worked out. There's no federal law or anything. It's school by school, district by district. Either we're going to have cubbies in classrooms, they're going to be in those pouches kids have to keep, something, so they can learn, they can interact, they don't isolate, right? But they'll have access in the case of an emergency. That's the reality today. We have to talk like that. But also to get schools, they cannot be giving our children assignments on their devices, right? Which New York City does, yet they're claiming in 2025, Governor Kathy Hochul, no cell phones in classrooms. How are you going to say that when you're giving the homework assignments and kids who don't have a laptop because maybe their government-issued Chromebook got stolen on the subway or bus, they can't get a replacement, have to do work on the phone? We want to go back to what worked when we were kids. I will say that now. A textbook, hardcover, get them off the devices for the homework. So that's beginning to spread out across the country. So you see, there's a lot of hope. And I'll leave you with, there really is a lot of hope, because I passed Rockefeller Center today and they brought in the Christmas tree Saturday night, I think, into Sunday morning. And it is up and not decorated yet because it just went up, and they fill it out, the branches and this and that. And it's going to be a great Christmas, a great holiday season, and a great January. So to all of you who tuned in tonight, thank you so much. I want all of you to go relax, take a breath, can breathe easy. Right in the last week, we have a lot of good things happening. Always follow linswarriors.org. And again, many thanks for joining me, for listening to all of this, and for wanting to do something. And remember, each and every one of you are a warrior. Great thanks again to Lori Lewis and also to Howie Brown for the memberships. It keeps us going. We'll talk again soon. Stay vigilant. Community creates change. And remember, each and every day when you wake up, go out and be a warrior. Good night.